Hey everyone, it's Triple Mango Threat or Ashley, and today we're going over a mono red group hug deck that wants our opponents to have a lot of cards in their hands. So let's jump right into it. Our commander is Adamaro, First to Dance. For 1 red we have a star spirit that its power and toughness are equal to its opponent's hand size, more specifically that opponent with the largest hand size. And in this deck we'll have a lot of group hug cards, which is something I really love. Also, if you'd like to purchase this deck, I'll have it in the description down below. Touching on some of the ramp in the deck, we have Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, and Fire Diamond, and that's to name a few. Luckily these have been reprinted recently, so their prices are lower than usual. Iron Mirror, Mind Stone, and Prismatic Lens, these are all 2 CMC mana rocks that get us to 4 mana on turn 3 if we've played a land. Again, great budget options for ramping. As for the group hug cards, we have Temple Bell, Howling Mine, and Font of Mythos. These not only get us card advantage, but our opponents as well. These are great cards for promoting a game full of card draw, so if you love drawing cards, you'll definitely enjoy this deck. Horn of Greed, whenever a player plays a land, they get to draw a card. So landfall decks or decks that play additional lands will benefit the most from this, but again, I'm not worried about that at all. Otherworld Atlas, we can tap this to put a charge counter on it, and we can also tap it to have each player draw a card for each charge counter on Otherworld Atlas. Another great card, even if it's slower than the others. Humble Defector, this lets us draw 2 when we tap it, and then we can give it to an opponent. This is fine for card draw for ourselves, but hopefully our opponents will draw from this as well. So as we draw cards and our opponents draw a bunch of cards, what's the point? Well, we want our opponents to have a lot of cards to make our commander bigger, but we'll need a way to protect Adamaro because our opponents will start having a chance for drawing more answers for removal. So we have Mask of Avacyn, Mirror Shield, and Swiftfoot Boots. All 3 of these do a great job at making our opponents use another card to be able to target our commander. So they'll have to remove our equipment and then another card like Path to Exile to even touch our commander. We do have some removal spells ourselves with Abrade, Chaos Warp, and Vandal Blast. These are all single target removal, which is why I like Abrade. It can destroy an artifact or deal 3 to a creature. Initially I didn't like this card, and I think it was from the Boros Precon from Commander Legends. I thought this was really bad, so I removed it from the upgrades video. I actually think this is a great card. Versatility in Commander is a powerful thing, and with 3 opponents there's a lot more things to interact with. This is a great option to start using. Chaos Warp is another great card for getting rid of any permanent, which is a powerful thing, and it gives a random effect of a random permanent coming onto the battlefield. Vandal Blast gives us the option to destroy 1 artifact we don't control or all artifacts we don't control for 4 more colorless mana. Again, versatility is the key. Blasphemous Act, Chain Reaction, and Starstorm. These are all great board wipes for the deck, and since we don't have a lot of creatures, in fact we only have 14 to be exact, board wipes don't bother us as much. So this will definitely affect other players more. Blasphemous Act is a classic board wipe. In red, we can end up paying 1 red mana to deal each creature 13 as long as there's enough creatures out to reduce the cost. Chain Reaction is a great underrated board wipe that for 4 mana we can deal a ton of damage to each creature, but it's all dependent on how many creatures are on the battlefield at that time. Starstorm only cares about how much mana we put into it, or we can always cycle it to draw a card if we don't need the board wipe at that time. We deal a lot of damage with Chandra's Ignition, Dictate of the Twin Gods, and Kedis Emberclaw Familiar. All 3 of these are different but accomplish the same thing. We are dealing more damage. Chandra's Ignition lets target creature we control deal damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent, so a board wipe and a potential way to kill players. If our commander is a 7/7, this means we deal 7 to each other creature and 7 to each opponent. What's nice is that when this is paired up with Dictate of the Twin Gods, we can deal 14 to each creature and 14 to each opponent. Kedis specifically cares about combat damage, which is different from what Chandra's Ignition is doing. Our commander will have to attack, and the damage that comes from combat is what this is talking about. But again, it's dealing damage to each other opponent, which is helpful when our commander is high on power. We can increase Adamaro's power with cards like Strata Scythe. When it ETBs, we search for a land and we exile it. So we'll choose Mountain, and then the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name. What I didn't realize is that when I put it into the deck, this meant even if an opponent has a mountain, not just ours, it gets +1/+1 for each mountain they control as well, which is really neat. Tenza Goda's Maul. This gives the equipped creature +2/+2 when it's a legendary, and it also gives it Trample, which is super helpful in this deck because of our commander. It's going to have a high power, but not a way to make it through if our opponents have chump blockers, for example, a 1/1 Thopter they don't need or even care about. There's also Loxodon Warhammer, which gives the creature +3/+0, Trample, and Lifelink, so this means whenever Chandra's Ignition or Kedis have ways to deal damage to our opponents, we actually gain that much life as well. So this can get us far ahead of our opponents. Now my favorite part of any deck is drawing cards, so besides group hug cards, we have Outpost Siege, Furious Rise, and Valakut Exploration. These don't let us draw cards, these let us play cards from the top of our library until end of turn, or with Furious Rise until the next card is exiled with this one. But these are great budget options to draw because red doesn't really offer ways to draw cards like the other colors. Blue, for example, we can just pay 4 mana to draw 3. Red doesn't have anything like this, so exiling cards is a great way to accomplish card draw. Court of Ire, Crimson Fleet Commodore, and Emberwild Captain. All of these get us Monarch, and this lets us draw a card at the end of our turn if we are the Monarch. But if an opponent deals us combat damage, they become the Monarch, and then they get to start drawing cards at their end step. I like adding Monarch cards because now players have an excuse to hit each other and not feel bad about it. Also, this encourages players to hit each other like I said, and that means less damage we have to deal to them, so an easier way to win. Emberwild Captain, this not only lets us become the Monarch, but whenever an opponent attacks us while we're the Monarch, it deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because our commander cares about how many cards are in our opponent's hand, and since we have so many cards that we're filling them up with, this fits right into the deck. There's also Dragon Mage and Dream Pillager. Dragon Mage is a Wheel of Fortune that only costs 34 cents rather than $300, but it also costs 5 red, but on a budget this is just fine. Being able to reset everyone's hand and get our commander to be a 7/7 is awesome. Dream Pillager lets us exile cards when it deals combat damage, and this is equal to its power or how much damage this is dealing, so 4 cards whenever we hit an opponent. So that was the Mono Red Group Hug deck, and if you'd like to purchase this deck, I'll have it in the description down below. When you purchase it, you help out the channel at no additional cost to you. If you'd like to become a patron, you can see your name at the end of these videos, and again, you help support the channel. Be sure to comment down below what you thought of the deck, and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.